And welcome back. We got the gremlins out of Jerry Gray's computer. He's a former British police officer, someone that's lived in China. We're going to talk about the possible, or I know China would love to annex Taiwan. Some would suggest the people of Taiwan don't want that. I don't know. We'll find out from Jerry Gray. Jerry Gray, is that the case?
I don't think anybody wants to annex Taiwan. Taiwan actually is a province of China, and that's undisputed. I mean, there are all people will say Taiwan's independent, Taiwan is diplomatically or politically different. There is no question about it until 1949. Certainly from 1945, after the Cairo Declaration, after a whole heap of different things. And from there onwards, there's been recognition of one China. Taiwan is part of China. Now, depending on your politics, you might say China is part of Taiwan, but there is only one China. And depending on your politics, 1.4 billion people say Taiwan is part of China, and about 25 to 30 million say China is part of Taiwan. That's the way it is. There is no independence. There never was. There never will be an independent Taiwan. That's for sure. China will never allow that. They lost Hong Kong, they lost parts of Shandong, parts of Dalian, parts of Wuhan, parts of Shanghai. They lost all this when they were a very poor country. And in terms of military and economy, they were very poor as well. So they lost a lot in the past. They call that the century of humiliation. They're not going to lose any more now. They will accept that the status quo is okay, but they will not accept an independent Taiwan. And at the same time, in Taiwan, a lot of people will not accept reunification with China. So what we have is an ambiguity that has been accepted for the last basically 70 years, but certainly since China was recognized since the People's Republic of China was recognized as one China, it's existed since then. And we're getting on to 50 years of that now.
So, Jerry, should we be looking at Hong Kong and the gradual reintegration with China? And that's happening a lot more quickly than I'm guessing the media would have us believe the people of Hong Kong would like. And just quickly, I would like to touch on Hong Kong, because is that some sort of an analog to this situation, would you, on some level?
They're very different situations. Hong Kong was taken away during the Opium War, or as a result of the Opium War, by the British and colonized by another country. So it became part of the British Empire. Taiwan is part of China. It's an island, like Hainan Island is a part of China. It's a separate province of China. It's its own county. And Kinmen Island is part of Taiwan County. So therefore, they're considered to be part of Taiwan as well, the Taiwan province. It's a very different situation, but the way I view it, this is personal opinion, I think that the future holds a one country, three systems type of alliance. That's probably the way it's going to go. But ultimately, most people in Taiwan don't want independence. Most people in Taiwan don't want reunification. Most people in Taiwan want the status quo. And that's what this election delivered for them quite clearly.
I mean, a question, if we were to walk down the street in Taiwan and ask 100 people in quick succession, what they would like, what sort of percentages would you have a guess might answer one way as opposed to another?
I don't need to guess. It's been polled. Probably about 80% would say, no, let's just stay where we are. A lot of people in Taiwan would like closer relationship with China, but don't want to be part of the communist China. And that's possibly because they don't really understand it. What China wants is to show how good it is on the mainland. And it really is. I mean, all the infrastructure, everything is very, very good. We talked about this before. Everything in China is very good. And the Chinese government want to show this. They're doing this for Hong Kong. They're integrating parts of Hong Kong into the mainland. And they have integrated parts of Taiwan into the mainland too. There's a free trade zone, a special economic zone inside of Xiamen, which is on the mainland, just on the opposite side of the Taiwan Straits. And there's there's about 1.5 million Taiwanese people living on the mainland now. And there's only 25 million Taiwanese people. It's the population about the size of Australia. And if you imagine the entire population of Adelaide lives in a different part of the country. That's the way to look at it. You're as likely to get Tasmania going independent as you are getting Taiwan going independent. And the people don't want it.
Now, we're certainly used to the media pushing certain levels of fear in regards to them accomplishing something that they would like to happen. How likely is an altercation between the US and China over Taiwan?
Never. It's, in my opinion, it's never going to happen. The US will not go to war over Taiwan. They will scorch earth Taiwan. They've already said this. This is written into their military plans. They will scorch earth Taiwan and leave it the same way that they've pretty much scorched earth Ukraine. They will not fight. There are no body bags going home over a small island. Now, what they really do want, America really want to have control. And they created control by creating democracy there. Democracy in Taiwan is not a Chinese system at all. It's an American-funded and an American-founded democracy that exists because America pays for it to exist. The National Endowment for Democracy created Taiwanese democracy. It's not a Chinese structure. Until 1987, Taiwan was completely autocratic, far more autocratic than anything you will have experienced inside of China. Even the stuff you read about, your viewers should really consider looking up something called the White Terror. This is what Taiwan was under the KMT. And this is why when the democratic process was started by the Americans, they had to distance themselves from the KMT, so they created the DPP. And the DPP is basically, and I don't like to use this word puppet, but it is a government whose strings are controlled, or a party that the strings are controlled in America by the NED. The National Endowment for Democracy recognized Tsai Ing-wen with the Democracy Award, the Global Democracy Award. The National Endowment for Democracy funded something called the Taiwan Democracy Movement or Foundation, something like that. And they've done all this in the last 30 years. Taiwan didn't have a democracy until the 1990s. It was created by America so that they could do exactly what they're doing now, cause this conflict. And we talked about this before. As they cause this conflict, they're building up tensions in the region. They're getting Japan, they're getting Korea, they're getting Philippines. They want Australia involved in this. And of course, while they're doing all this, they're selling all of these people more weapons that they can use against an enemy that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, anybody listening in the UK, in America, or here in Australia certainly wouldn't want their children to go and have to fight a war over Taiwan. I don't think they'd want any part of it. Likewise, would they want our kids fighting a war over in the Ukraine or a couple of the other conflicts that they've got going or are trying to fire up at the moment? And that's what the US do, unfortunately. And that machine, that military machine that is there. And just very quickly, I watched a terrific documentary on Hawaii last night. A lot of things I had no clue about Hawaii. And of course, with Pearl Harbor, it's just the most advantageous military naval base and the positioning of it. But if they didn't have that, Taiwan also is a very important military naval thing to have. And of course, the US probably pushing for that advantage as well.
Yeah, MacArthur described it as the unsinkable aircraft carrier in the Pacific Ocean. That's what Taiwan is to the American military machine right now.
We need to wake up to all these things, and thank God for people like you, Jerry, who is over there living. I hope you're living the dream, but mate, certainly living well over in China, and mate, and advocating for what is real, not this fake narrative, this fake world that we seem to be living in. And if people just turned off the mainstream media, I think we'd have a far better idea of how the world really worked than if we tune in every day.
We sure would. We sure would. Everything you've ever read, everything you've ever seen about China needs to be questioned. I didn't question it until I came here. And when I came here, my first day was, wow, this is different to what I expected. But it took me a couple of years to realize that it wasn't only just different to what I expected. I'd been lied about what to expect. Everything I knew about China, everything was wrong. Everything. It's not autocratic. It's not authoritarian. It's not dictatorial. It's not a surveillance state. It has no social credit score. All of the things that we're reading don't exist. They're not true. There is an explanation for all of them. I would say there's a grain of truth in every single story, but that grain of truth has been misinterpreted. And you, the viewers, are being misinformed about China. I'm trying my best on my YouTube channel to re-inform people the correct way. But all I get, I get hundreds of comments every day saying, thank God someone's doing this. But I also get about 2 or 3% of people saying, who's paying you to say this? The fact is, you come and have a look for yourself. It's much easier than it used to be. Come and have a look. I'll prove I'm right to you. It's very easy to prove.
I love that.
That's the answer.
I couldn't have said it any better. If you doubt what Jerry's saying, get on a plane, go over there, see for yourself. And Jerry, in about a month's time, if we could get you back, I'd love to touch on all those things that you spoke about, the social credit scores, the response during COVID, for example, all those things, and how we perceived that they were based on the fact that we listened to this media who, and it's funny because even a lot of the conservative people who would be 99% of the audience that listen to TNT, we know the media is BS, but we still fall for some of the false narratives that the media sell because it kind of weighs into things that we are thinking, and it kind of suits the way we'd like to think. But mate, if it's BS, I'd rather wipe it and have a much clearer perspective of how China and the world really works. And I'm going to rely on you to provide that for us, Jerry.
It's called the gel man effect. The fact that we can look at the media and we can read something and say, well, look at this, it must be true, it's in the news. But if we look at the media and it's telling us about something we're aware of and we know of, that gel man effect is saying, hang on, I can't believe anything this media tells me, but then I believe everything this media tells me that I think I want to believe. That's what we're doing.
Jerry Gray, I love your work, mate. Keep doing what you're doing, and mate, I would suggest that your following will grow to immense proportions because the truth always sells. And mate, you're doing it for all the right reasons. Other people that we spoke about yesterday are doing it for self-serving reasons and spreading information that suits them at the time. And we'll talk about him next time as well. Jerry Gray, appreciate you, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks again, Dean. Bye.
Coming up.